unpredictable. It's like it's within reason, but it's like, man, it's the timing of things. It's really stellar, you know. So much his seduction is so, you know, on edge. It's edgy so that it really pulls in the attention of the girl and the guys. And you know, when you have someone's attention, that's when you can play a trick. That's when you can do magic. That's, you know, when you can distract and do something like, you know, yeah. So that's really, you know, throughout the event, throughout the date, slightly edgy, always just slightly edgy. With the girl, he's edgy with the guys. With the guys, he's kind of edgy with the girl. You know, just, you know, correcting, touching her face, just correcting her, how well she was listening to him, correcting how she was with the waitress or waiter. Uh, you know, edgy with so many things. How he's talking about the whole episode where like he got in the conflict with the bouncer or whatever at her work, and just how he's, you know, he showed the clip this morning in class, and you know, he even in his imagination, in his fantasy, when he's like playing a fantasy out of like, if I was a girl and I had a conflict with a female bouncer, this and that, and she's cracking up laughing about it, but it's because he's edgy on these things that, you know, the laughter is, I read or heard, maybe it was even from AZD years ago, about laughter is like a release of danger or something like that, like something's danger. And that's why a lot of like shocking jokes that are like kind of shocking by nature, like that's the laughter comes from, this is a dangerous thing to say, but somehow we're getting away with it, and that's where like the laughter gets, you know, it's like a release of something like that. So, you know, the edginess combined with the comfort is, you know, it's such a nice contrast, you know, to be edgy, to be a bad boy, but to be totally relaxed and comfortable and not like on edge. That's a good one. How to be edgy but not on edge. Right? I think that's what we're seeing. A lot of guys are edgy but they're on edge. And a lot of guys are not edgy and they're also on edge.
Yeah, or it's like you're none of those, and you're just trying to figure out the next right thing to do because you're just
Yeah.
so lost on a date. Like you've never really been on a date. You just when you're on the date, you're in your head the whole time. So you're on the date. So it's like, yeah,
Man.
you're on the date.
That's the
You're on
truth.
the date. Yeah, you're on it. You weren't on it. You haven't been on a date yet because first you don't have a structure for a date, and you're so nervous or in your head or like you're just trying to figure things out or trying to plan it, like make it so perfect. It's pretty weird when I think about it. That you totally lost sight whole reason you're going on the date.
Yeah. You know?
Be to either create a relationship, seduce or create a relationship, and obviously have a good time. Because if you're not having a good time, then fuck the whole thing. It's garbage. If you're bored and depressed the whole time of the day, then the date was just—it's not even a date. It was just fucking torture for 2 hours or whatever, however long you guys were hanging out.
A lot of guys, their dates.
That's how you remember it, you know.
That's totally how it is. And just clarifying, the guy that's edgy but on edge. I didn't say that. I know that Sultan's mic sometimes cuts out, maybe the headphones. I think I pretty much hear everything, but I said edgy but not on edge. You don't want to be on edge where you're like ready to pop off, or you know, you have a thin threshold of patience or whatever. That's like somebody that's on edge. But edgy, you know, it's a play of words. So I mean, take it for what it's worth. I'm just playing on the words. But edgy is the, you know, risky, saying things slightly out of the ordinary that is almost offensive, but not. The keyword almost. It's not offensive, but it's like almost offensive. If you can imagine something, it's like a lot of jokes. Jokes are like almost offensive, and some people do get offended. But you know, to the people that don't get offended, it's almost offensive and it's funny a lot of times because of that, because of how edgy it is. So you don't want to be, but if you were on edge, like a irritable uh comedian, I mean, some comedians, I guess, make their career like appearing like they're on edge, but that's not a fun person to be around. Like you wouldn't, the girl wouldn't want to date that guy. She might laugh at his jokes, but you know, edgy is like unstable, and that's risky for a woman. Woman doesn't want to be around an unstable guy. You know, hence Psycho Chris, because I'm obviously super stable.
So you're saying playing safe isn't fun, is what he said.
Yeah. So, playing safe is. I don't know. Do you think it's fun? Shit. When is playing safe ever fun? You know what's fun is winning. So if you play it safe and you get the girl, then great. I don't think you're getting the girl. Sultan and I know a little bit more about the reality of this thing. There's a huge contrast between what really getting the girl, because AZD is not doing anything like, he's not paying the girl millions of dollars. He's not chaining her in a dungeon. He's not like, we are, Sultan and I are witnesses to what getting a girl really looks like, sounds like, the experience, even from the first dates, third dates, to multi-year relationships with multiple women, multi-year relationships. And, getting a girl, a lot of guys, the relationships don't last beyond a few years. I mean, a lot of guys don't even get in relationships. If they do, it doesn't go anywhere. If it does, then it doesn't go past 3 years. And if it does, it's because you get married and you are just downhill from there. Like, you just get worse and worse in pretty much every way that matters to men. Men who like to have male friends, the married guy gets worse and worse and worse. So the only thing he's really good for is like, it's kind of like uh, what's that movie when they go to Vegas? Well, there's a lot of movies that where they go to Vegas, but it's funny because we live in Vegas now. It's not Wedding Crashers. It's like no it was right there.
Fear and Loathing?
No. It's more recent. It's a comedy. Hangover. The Hangover.
Oh.
So it's like when they go there and the one guy is married and he's a bitch to his girl.
Yeah.
It's like that. But he's useful because he has all the credit cards. Because he's been responsible his whole life, like building equity in his home and whatever with his wife that abuses him or whatever. Like, that's what the married guy is good for. He still has utility. We could use him for his money or whatever. But, okay, all right. So we have an event tomorrow. It was going to be today. It's going to be tomorrow because AZD is occupied today. So I realize because I play too safe and be afraid to offend or say the wrong thing. That's why you got to get on the daily class. Sultan knows. You got to get on the daily class. That's you learn the language of edgy communication, how to be edgy, but you also learn a lot of ethics and etiquette. At least I thought so. Some guys, they don't have all their ethics in, but, there's different layers of ethics, dealing with money, dealing with relationships, dealing with tribe, dealing with family. And that's primarily what AZD, I think, is teaching, is ethics. But that's very unattractive. It sounds dry. It's like, I don't want to learn ethics. But the guy has multiple beautiful relationships for a long, long time. He's really good at it. And he just made 2 new girlfriends the last 2-3 weeks. He has 8 or 9. I don't even know. It's just a lot, and it's successful. So call it dry if you will. But, those women aren't going for dry interactions. And that's what we're talking about. Like, the whole date was not dry. It was full of laughter and wisdom and fantastical conversations, and it's a whole system he teaches. There's a whole system to get to develop the abilities that we admire in him. The fantasy and creative, understanding what's attractive or not. You could be fantastic, but like, it's not attractive to the woman. If you want the woman, it's not just about being fantastical. You got to know psychology. Like L. Roberts, he's on the Zoom stream right now, and he told me some of the messages, some of his communications with some of his girls, and it was like, okay, there's a lot there that's good, and then there's some elements to it that are like, you got to know a little bit more about female psychology, and he's learning it, and you'll get it as you study AZD stuff, just to make it cleaner and better. It may still work, but it's like I could submit the guy in 10 minutes, struggling, or you could do it in 30 seconds if you just know where and when the opening is, and that's just the skill level difference. But you still submit them, so it's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Sultan? I have a way of just jabbering.
No, it was good. I was listening. Yeah, I mean, the daily. You're talking about daily class because what did he say? He said that I realized because I played too safe, to be afraid to offend and say the wrong thing. Yeah, I mean, that's as far as your game is going to go. I mean, you're there. You're at a point where you're not going to be able to move forward because you're going to be afraid of offending somebody or saying the wrong thing. I mean,
I recommend coming to this event, bro.
Yeah,
it's on early bird now, and it's a 2 to 2.5 hour breakdown of the date. And it's not us. We're going to give the events of it, and AZD is going to be there for 2 hours filling in the gaps. We didn't hear everything. We don't understand. I have questions for him, like this frame that, like when you grabbed her face in the car and corrected her for not listening well enough. He did it in a way. She has makeup on, right? He did it in a way that she totally received it. This is a brand new girl. I mean, third date. So I mean, new girl. It's their third date, but their girlfriend, boyfriend. She met his other girlfriends. Like it's serious, but it's new. And like, man, how did you know to do that? Because they've only. I don't want to talk about his sex life, but it's not like they've been together a lot. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have that level of intimacy. You know, he carried her to the car, brought her to the car carrying her. He doesn't do that. I've seen him pick up a girl twice in like 9 years. And both of them were in Vegas, actually. So it's like, what was going on that happened? A big one is really on the way home because we're focusing on the date, but the big one is really on the ride home because that's when he brought out some spiritual forces and talking about breaking contracts that he has a girlfriend that was at home, staying at home while he was on a date with this other girl. And of course, everybody knows about it. So that's already mind blowing. But this is the ethics that it takes that makes multiple relationships work. You know, that's his code of conduct makes it work. He's not forcing anybody to do it. And so many women jumping in and doing it. It's like his ethics, it's working. So I recommend showing up and hearing how he breaks down our questions to him.
Yeah, you guys really don't have, you don't have a reference of how to go on a date. You have whatever idea you have about dates and the dates that you've been on. I mean, that's what your reference is. Your reference is the dates you've been on, if you've even been on any, and then what you've heard to do from your parents or society in the past. And obviously none of it's worked, because if it did, then you'd have it all figured out. Yeah, I wing a lot of my dates, not gonna lie. You mean like I see. So you go on a date with your friend, and he brings a girl, and then you hang out with like the obstacle, the girl that is her friend. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Sounds about right.
Yep. Yeah, you got to be around wings. That's another reason to come to Vegas. You'll see how winging is done. Like CJ, it'd be great if CJ moved here. He lives in Arizona, but he's underage, but he's overage. He's an adult, but can't drink, whatever. So he can't go to the strip clubs with us. But, you'd be able to go on these dates with us. What?
I was laughing at this comment, bro. It's funny.
Oh.
How the fuck do I get a girl to sleep with me after I get her done?
Well,
it was worded. It was just, how the fuck do I get it?
Are you a virgin? Answer that. Are you a virgin? To answer your question, I mean, unless you're a retard or you're on drugs right now, and answer if you're retarded or if you're on drugs, of course, then you got to know that your question's super general. So we got to ask you more questions to even know how to answer you. Otherwise, we're going to lecture forever on that, and it may not even answer your question. So you're saying I am not. You're not a virgin, not on drugs, not retarded. I've been through a lot traumatic. Okay. Well, what do you think, Sultan? What would be your concise answer? How do you get a girl to sleep with you after you get her number?
So I've been working on my self-esteem. How do I get a girl to sleep with me after I get her number? Well, there's a lot of steps before you're gonna sleep with her after you get her number.
Yeah. So okay, do you have a short answer, or what do you think? And then we're wrapping it up in a few minutes, guys.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be a lot of steps before you sleep with her. So the next step would be after you hang out with her, after you get her phone number, assuming the conversation went well, then you would be setting up a meetup. You'd be setting up a hangout. But really, I would have already set the hangout up as I'm getting the phone number. I wouldn't just get the phone number. Okay. So let's say I didn't do that. Let's say I just said, fuck it, I'm going to get your number. I don't have enough time, whatever. Then the next step would be to hit her up and see. Or next thing would be hit her up and invite her to something I'm going to go do. Something I'm already going to go do. But, that's a lot earlier on than having sex with her.
Okay. All right. So here's my answer. It depends on your purpose or agenda or whatever. Do you just want to sleep with her? Do you just want to fuck her once, maybe twice, and then never interact with her again? Or do you want to have a relationship with her? If you just want to fuck her once or twice, then you need to learn some game. And I'm not here to teach you all those. I mean, you need to be very high value and, treat her in a certain way that makes her want to come over, basically. And that's that. If you want to have a relationship with her, then the answer is you got to learn how to be her friend. And by your question, I don't get the impression that you know how to be friends with girls. Oh, look, I'm getting restricted on TikTok because I'm cursing or whatever, or my vape pen. Damn it. Probably the vape pen. Honestly, it's not the cursing. I think it's the vape pen. Uh, it's obvious from your question you don't really know how to be friends with a girl. So that's how you get the girl to sleep with you in the more proper way. Because if you just start fuck buddies, it's not going to be a super fulfilling thing. You'll get your rocks off and it'll be nice for what it is. But, uh, you know, anyway, that's my concise answer. And then how do you be friends with a girl? That's where you get into game class. That's how AZD has multiple relationships, bro. I mean, if I was going to summarize it in a very simple kindergarten version, he's really good friends with them. And he keeps attraction. So he's an attractive friend. You know what I mean? So you guys got to learn how to be attractive friends. How do you do that? That's the game class. What do you think we talk about for an hour every day? You're like, well, I don't need to talk about that for an hour every day. Okay, well, keep being dry with your experience with women. And you don't feel like retyping what you said? Well, then we don't feel like answering it. What are we supposed to like scroll up and fucking retype it? Jesus. Entitled. That's socialism right there, Sultan. That's a socialist. He's like, I wrote it, therefore you are commanded to answer me. Socialist. Or just type it again, bro, because we want to answer it, but I don't want to scroll up. Okay, guys, so we have an event tomorrow. It's literally the method of dating. It's all the questions that you're asking. That's with AZD. It's $97 early bird. Nah, Shimmy just spamming chat. Okay. Shimmy just okay. It's a pretty thorough breakdown. We'll give you the events all the way from what happened, like how he carried the girl to the car, how they were listening to music, how they were in the front seat while we're in the back seat, how we get to the restaurant, how we go in the restaurant, how we order food, how we interact with the whole tribe and the camera crew, how we leave, how he takes her home, etc. Like the timeline of it. I'm sure we'll insert our realizations, etc., into the breakdown of it. Sultan and I were both in the vehicle and saw the whole thing from front to finish. We were there when he first picked her up. We were there when he interacted with her at the strip club the second time. We were there when he brought her on the first date, on the second date, on the third date. So we have a whole soap opera plot line here of how to seduce a woman, given that he already had 6 other girlfriends and everybody knew about it. And AZD will be arriving about 15, 20 minutes late because he'll be hanging out with his girlfriend up until then, one of them. And then he'll break it down for another hour and a half to 2 hours. I have some pre-written questions. I've thought about it. I'll ask him. He'll expand on the mindset and his understanding of what to do in that situation, why he did what he did. And when you hear AZD talk about it, it's gonna really, like, you're gonna know more what to do on dates, how to have successful relationships without conflict, flawless. That's what he's offering, And the guys that are already in classes, I see some of you guys on Zoom. You're already in daily classes. A lot of you are in advanced classes too. It is the sort of thing that he just doesn't really talk about in those other classes. It's not that it's like higher level or it's taboo or can't be talked about. He'll maybe skirt around it. It's just there's so much to teach and talk about. And this is specifically an event about how to go on a date, how to do the date. And so it's a separate subject. It's like an extracurricular activity. It's just not in line with the rest of the game training. The daily class is $97. So motherfuckers can show up to that for $3 a day. This information is not for those guys. That's $3 a day training. The advanced camp is whatever, $400. And that's whatever it is, 10 lectures or something. And it's a specific subject called the process. So AZD teaches on the process, his process of thinking and getting tapped in and how to be in state and state changing and all of that stuff. It's the process. It's not how I went on a date with this girl. Maybe the parts of it that are dealing with the process, like I tapped in, or she was there for my tap in, or this is how I was tapping in, like as it's related to the process, but the actual components and mind frames of the date, you're only going to get sprinkles of it in all the other classes. Not because it can't be. It's just not as relevant as you might think. It's a separate thing. And so it's a separate event. It's $97. Guys that did the last event, it's $77. Guys that live in Vegas and pay $1,200 a month to AZD for dues, like me, Sultan, and everybody else, it's $57. They still got to pay for it. I paid $150 to be in the vehicle and to go to dinner. Every time I pay, I've paid up to $500. I invest. I don't save the money. I try to save money, but it doesn't seem to save. I keep buying new events. AZD, as soon as I have money, AZD's like, new event coming out. Ah, fuck. All right. Pay for it. You know, because that's why I'm here. And that's why I think you guys respect me. Even if you don't like me, you respect me. That's why I'm captain. It's not because I was most likable. Now moving forward, I'm going to be more likable because I see how that's important. But it's literally that. I just was not being likable just because I didn't want to or whatever. Please work with Ambu on any details he needs, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's a fun. Listen, look at that message that's coming through. Sultan, we'll be reading that right afterwards. It's all coming to light. It's all coming to light, man. Okay. Are there any questions for we could take a Zoom question or if there was anything else on Instagram? Okay. All right, the link is available. Maybe it's posted in the bio. I know it's posted in my bio on Instagram and TikTok and also on the YouTube streams. 5 to 7 p.m. tonight. It'll probably go over. It usually does, 5 to 7:30. And, just get involved. There's other ways to get involved. We have newsletters. We have free products, mindset stuff. We have all kinds of YouTube stuff to share with you. It's a whole, we're not trying to, it's like that guy that's like, how do I fuck the girl right away? It's like, we're not trying to fuck you guys. We're not trying to get you signed up and then like leave you hanging. We want you to get good at game. And yeah, it's going to take time. Yeah, it's going to take blood, sweat, and tears. Like a lot. It's going to take a lot of heartache. You are not attractive. You are not seductive. You are not responsible enough yet. You are not charming enough. Okay, how do you become that? Man, that's going to take a lot of burning your ego because you've been living with yourself for a long time. It's been a habit and you're going to have to change your habits, and that's not easy. And but if the target is getting the women of your dreams, giving yourself choice with women, living a very free life that is very free to express and free to be that's what we're offering. So definitely be in communication with us. Any last words, Sultan, tying the bow on it?
Oh, the event is tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I believe they confirmed on the chat that it's tomorrow, 5 to 7.
For me.
Oh, there, I'm going to get censored for vaping. Okay, everybody. Thank you. There's some guys still on Zoom, so I'll continue the stream just for a little bit. Since we don't have an event at 5, I'm not as pressed right now. So I'll continue a little bit and talk with you guys about some other stuff. But if you'd like to exit, and I'll give it a second. We'll just take a quick intermission, everybody. Quick intermission. Little music playing right now.
Only on them seas if the breeze, red ruby the sleeve, Chinese on my sleeve, these wanna be Chinese anyway, we out. Who the fuck told bitches they was me now? I knew these bitches was slow, I ain't know these bitches was me now. Marry the shooter case you niggas tried to beat me down. I'm the
Hey, 1 second. If somebody's speaking. Oh, wait. Was that you, Sultan? What's up?
I'm gonna continue on this.
You're welcome to stay on with me if you want, man. I was just going to take a little break and give you a chance to leave and your audience to go if you wanted to. Okay, well, let's just take a little break and then we'll stay on.
Bozo, you fucking bozo. That 40 cal make them dance like a go-go.
What did you say, man? Last girl dating was ungrateful.
Bitches couldn't walk in my closet. That's what they done.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know we talked before.
Like leave and leave. Many bitches so slow, man, they slow the sloth.
Sure.
On the horse. How you gonna catch the boss? Put them with their hand out, trying to catch the sauce.
Man, I mean, there's only so much you can do when you're not in class.
I run businesses. If I ain't employed you, then what your business is?
How does it feel to be in that condition? I mean, first you have to ask yourself, how does it feel to be in that condition, right? How does it have to do with that state? Because I don't have that problem. You and Chris have that problem. Guys here don't have that problem. But you and many, many other guys do who are not studying this. So how does it feel to have that? Serious question. You felt terrible. Okay, so, I mean, how do you feel about it now? Like in general, because I'm sure that situation has manifested in different ways in your life. This is not the first time that's probably happened. And it's probably happened in different ways with different girls, right?
Only you wanna see if the breeze, red ruby, the sleeves, Chinese on my sleeve. You wanna be Chinese anyway, you out.
Yeah, this is a waste of time. I know that. I'm saying, how does it feel now, knowing that that's the condition you're in? Because you said it felt terrible. I mean, it doesn't feel terrible anymore, right? Or are you saying it feels terrible?
But I don't fuck with horses since Christopher Reeves. Gotta be careful when I dip. It's flips all in the whip. It's 40s with 30 clips. FNs with the switch. Guacamole with the taco. Waiting on El Chapo. Came in the rolls and left low in the taco.
No, look at it like this. Is it really worse? Would you rather? No, it doesn't even work because I never allowed myself to do it.
Don't nobody like
Yeah, does that mean you're not happy about it? That's like totally ridiculous. Like you say, you're never gonna get a situation like this. How are you gonna prevent it?
But sleeves like that, well, I'ma tease like that. Yo, na 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 na. Time bring them na 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 na. We don't caring like that, na 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 na. I like it when you get my cheeks like that. Well, I'm a freak like that. Don't da da da. Running round, wanna da da da.
Okay, that's enough of that big bootied hoe. All right, everybody, we're back. Still a few guys on Zoom. Okay. Do we have any questions or things to go over?
I'm talking with Joshua.
Joshua. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything anything I could be brought in on, or do we change subjects?
No, I mean we're really talking about the same stuff, dates and going out on dates. Oh, my fucking AirPods just died. Hold on.
There you go.
All right, well, AirPods dead. Yeah, fuck the AirPod.
Cool. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Dates, you know, just the very nature of dates is like trying to impress women. You're trying to impress the girl so that she likes you. And if you already know that she likes you, then there's not much question about dates.
Yeah.
You know, so the date happens after the pickup. How did you pick her up? And if your pickup is really weak, then the date's going to be a struggle. If your pickup is strong, you know, like the girls that have gone on me on these double, triple, quadruple dates with AZD, the ones that make it, the pickups were strong. And I was the opposite of insecure. I was secure. I didn't care being around my guys. I didn't care the girl being around AZD. Like, I was secure that chick likes me. I also know AZD is extremely attractive. He's made himself one of, if not the most attractive man on earth. Like, it's going to be, to bring the most attractive girl, bring one of his girlfriends around, it's hard not to look. You know what I mean? You bring a really attractive girl around, it's hard not, like, so I get that the girl that's with me is going to be attracted to him. But I know because of the solidness, the solidity of the pickup, that the date was no problem. Then it's just a matter of, what do you have such a boring life? I think it would be really difficult to have a solid pickup if you really had a boring life. So if you don't have a boring life, then you'll probably have a solid pickup. And then the real innovation here is the group dating, I think, with all the guys. And that just takes a coordination and ethics among the guys. So but that's out of reality for a lot of people. You don't really have guys around you. Even the guys in IMC Nation that are like in UK or Arizona or wherever, you may not have too many guys around you that you can talk about this stuff, go on dates, like, you know,
Yeah.
that we're doing our best to grow the movement so that you have people around you also. And we're also doing our best to give a tangible ladder, like a staircase that you can step up and, get this stuff. And it means changing your life. You might have to move. You might have to sell your car. Sultan sold his car. Shit. I'm about to sell. I have 2 cars. One of them is my girl's, but I own them both. But I'm gonna have to sell one because to keep up with the lifestyle. Whatever. Whatever. What do I do? She does everything. I barely even drive. I don't even drive. It just sits in the garage. You know what I mean? So, uh, yeah, dating girls. Because ultimately, like, I have a relationship that's very fulfilling. As a relationship, I have two, and one is very light. Like, she doesn't live here and she travels and whatever. And I mean, I take it serious. I think that she's serious about me, but it doesn't compare to the depth and the what I've created with this other girl. And that girl could leave also. I mean, she has me tattooed on her forearm like a whole portrait, but she could leave. And uh, but the effortlessness of that relationship, like, it's a lot less stressful than if you picked up a girl and worried about how to date her, how to keep dating her, how to be in a relationship with her. Like, you'll be worrying about that forever. So it's like, go for the girls that go for you. And if no girls are going for you, then you got to get your game up. Your game is not, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Sultan? What do you have to say on that?
Well, I was gonna say there's something about totally different. That was something that you said just a few minutes ago.
Let's hear it. I mean, Sultan.
Well, it's funny because you said that you got her tattooed. She got her your soft porch tattooed on her.
Oh, because you got your girl's name tattooed on you. Yeah. Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
I could see myself getting my girl's name tattooed on me at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I'm a different kind of character. Like, I'm the guy. Sultan is actually more of a romantic than I am. I'm different. I mean, and I don't mean to talk down about Sultan at all, but I'm more of a warrior archetype. I don't really, although I'm known for being a hothead and kind of ballistic Chris, they used to call me. I'm not very emotionally in the relationship like that. Like, I'm not an emotional relationship guy to a fault. So it can be a strength and a weakness. Just like Sultan's, he's a lover boy, right? But to a strength. But it can also be to a weakness. It's not one way is like, that's perfection. So he's the kind of guy that right away gets his girl's name tattooed on him. I'm the kind of guy that 10 years later, maybe I will. Maybe.
Yeah, I want a whole arm full of bitches, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Notches on the belt.
Yeah, and then fucking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Man,
going.
Dang. A slave to women he is. A slave to women.
No, just kidding. But yeah, you're saying because I stopped you on about the tattoos. You said that it's about the lifestyle. You said you have 2 cars.
Yeah, there was something else that I said right at the end. I thought you were reacting to, but maybe you were reacting to something else. But just go for the girl. Oh, go for the girl that goes for you.
Yeah.
And if no girls are going for you, you got to get your game up.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you practice on everybody. I mean, we go to clubs where there's like the most beautiful women. So we're talking to women all the time that don't see us as above them. We don't necessarily look up to them, but the mating game is the most pure capitalism on earth because it's so voluntary. You have to entice the person to want to be with you. I mean, you could try to bribe them with money or whatever, a white picket fence and marriage and whatever, but I just ended my first relationship. Dang. My phone just died. Motherfucker. I even had a charger right here. My phone died. Because I live in the house with Sultan, so. Okay, well, I'll wrap it up here on Zoom. That was just the Instagram. Do you want to talk about it at all, or you good? I don't know if he knows I'm talking to him. Roberts, did you want to talk about it at all, or are you good? I'm good, brother. Just not getting involved with another. Okay. Well, it's a free up. It frees you up. You do better. Get your mind right. Life more in order. Stay open. Stay on the process. The main thing, like with CJ, also the beast process. The beast process makes you into the kind of man that could live at a base. And even if you never live at a base, or maybe you form a base in UK, the beast process is what's going to really allow you to live this player's lifestyle, but with enough discipline that you last, or you'll burn out. And it involves the schedule, it involves the exercise, it involves the stoicism, and it really involves so much. It's a precursor to the process, which is the current advanced training. So it involves the beast phase 1 bundle, really involves so much imagination and mindset around your exercise, nutrition, all the activities of the beast process. But it's a mindset and it's imagination, applied imagination, that gets you out of your habits, and you start to upgrade your character because of how you're seeing yourself. That's what AZD will lecture on in about 40 lectures. Is the beast bundle is 45 lectures. It's so many angles and perspectives, with some games sprinkled in, a lot of seduction, but it's very focused on the beast process. And that's going to activate your ability to apply your imagination, to shift your state of mind. The beast process is really primarily controlling your state of mind and shifting state of mind. And using exercise, using all these tools, physical tools, but that ultimately becomes an internal mental ability. And it's relatively easy to shift your state of mind in the absence of women. But so that's why the real challenge comes when you're in relationships or whatever, because she is not under your control. However much you think she is, or she is when she's willing to be, when she's not willing to be, then you get frustrated because she's not willing to be under your control. And it's like, well, fuck, how do I solve the situation when she's not under my control? And, so letting go of things not under your control oftentimes involves some suffering and struggle and whatever. And so much of that will come up when you live at a base, or as you get higher in this lifestyle and closer to AZD in the center of the lifestyle, is, there's a lot of things that are not in your control. And it's amazing how much, as guys, solo guys out there, you are trying to control so many variables in your life. Distinguish that there's a difference between hustling and trying to control things. And there may be a more refined way to say that. But let's say it's within your control to get a job, but it's not in your control to get that person to hire you. It's in your control to find someone that will hire you, but it may not be that person or that person. You can't control their actions. You can control your communication, but not them. Same thing with the girl. You will get women. You'll get more women. Stay in the game. You're going to get more women, but maybe not that woman. That woman's not in your control. And women in general are not in your control, but your game is in your control, and God is on your side, man. If you got good game, if you got righteousness, stick it out. And, sometimes it takes some humility to realize I was not righteous. I have to upgrade my righteousness. And sometimes it's a patience thing where you had made some soul contract with some demonic women that were sapping you of energy, and it's actually the most righteous thing to not have that woman. And maybe that means not have any woman for a little bit of time. And you just stay in it. Stay in the game. You have the opportunity in UK, interacting with other UK guys. And you got to be the kind of guy that they want to interact with. Like, that's what I'm learning, captain, leader, whatever of IMC, is I actually have to be likable. And it's a purging process. I got to purge my own habits. And I also got to purge all the bad karma that I've created with guys, pushing them, nudging them, coercing them, coaxing them to sign up, participate more, this and that, this and that, this and that, and maybe created some bad blood amongst guys. I never had an apology for that because it got them where they are. They either drop out or they get higher. All the guys in Vegas, with the exception of 1 or 2 guys, I pushed to be, at some point I pushed them hard. Maybe not to move to Vegas, but at some point that was before that, I pushed them. They were going to drop out or fizzle or whatever, and I had to push them. Or at least I thought I had to. Then doesn't look like this is charging. So now I'm evolving a new level of ethics. I still got to get the sales. I got to get the sales. That's how I live. I pay my bills. I study. I go out with AZD. And how do I get my money? I sell. And it's like, well, I mean, you got to buy from somebody. You can send it directly to AZD if you want. The thing is he handed that off to me because part of selling this stuff is coordinating the lectures, uploading the recordings, keeping a database of the monies owed and whatever, staying in communication with everybody. And it's a full-time thing, like doing it all. And it'll make you a nervous wreck because everybody has their own stories and their own objections and their own rejections of the philosophy and guys roller coasters. So they'll be high one day and the next day they'll be like depressed. And I'm hearing all that and dealing with hundreds of guys. It'll fuck with your psyche. If you had 50 best friends that you interacted with daily and some of them were doing good and some of them doing bad, and then the next day it was opposite and it was like that emotionally, and you care about all these guys, it would start to fuck with you. And so I had to develop that. And meanwhile, I take all of that load off of AZD and then he can be a full-time seducer. So that's what happened 5 years ago when he handed the business over to me, more or less. And incrementally, I've taken over more and more of the business. Although there's always going to be parts that I'm not in control of. Like the stream team. The stream team is under Oracle's control. And so that's where him and I, now we have different strategy for where to take IMC Nation. I being the top producer, him being the top earner. Not in AZD, he makes his money from other stuff. He sold insurance or whatever. But he's able to unload a lot of money into IMC. So it's like, okay, which direction do we go in? That's what I'm going through on the group chat. If you heard me talking with Sultan about, did you see that message that just came through or whatever? And so I'm doing my best. As I solve these issues, I get better. And it's frustrating. And emotions come in. And people miscommunicate. One of the guys that's younger than me, I told him, because he's doing something that I consider shady. And I say something like, you got a lot to learn, little bro. He comes back and calls me little bro. Jay Roberts, what do you think about a guy 10 years younger than you, who you've been at that fighting gym for a few years more than him, and he calls you little bro? You want to fucking uppercut his nose off his face. But we can't do that in IMC Nation. If we could, there's a lot of guys that'd be beating up. But again, that's not, that's not me anyway. I say that in jest because the last time I beat someone up outside of a wrestling match was like middle school. I never got in fights, whatever, for whatever reason. And, so handling those, how do you handle those in a way that keeps the team strong? Got to keep in mind that the team strength is important, that AZD's lifestyle as the fountain of this wisdom is very important. I got to keep the money rolling to him so that he does what he does that benefits me so much. It's a interesting thing because in a lot of ways, I would probably get more pussy if I was outside of IMC. Knowing what I know now. There's no way that I could know what I know now without up to now. But let's say I left today, I go, immediately I would get some pussy. But it would be lower integrity. I wouldn't keep it as long. And I would destroy my life. Because I've built my life to be part of a big unit, a military unit. My ethics are aligned with that. If I go out as a lone wolf, my ethics are not built for lone wolf. My ethics are at a higher level. It would be like take a doctor, a medical doctor, and give them a janitorial job. They're way overqualified for that job, and they might be a worse janitor than the actual janitor, actually, even though they're so educated or whatever. But the janitor could never be the medical doctor, of course, and it would take a lot more to do that. I mean, he could be, but like in that moment, he couldn't be a medical doctor. So, my ethics and strategy of life is fitted for this lifestyle, and I may learn from some new experiences with women, but I would actually learn a lot more and get a lot farther if instead of chasing tail all day, I work for IMC, AZD has his relationships, feeds me the wisdom that he's gained through his relationships, then the relationships that I do have, even though I have minimal time, and I've given up a lot of my activities, like I'm not playing the guitar, I'm not a yoga teacher anymore. There's a lot of things that were attractive to certain kinds of women that I would get more pussy, but I didn't have access to the kinds of women that I have access to being alongside with AZD and the tribe. because we move with such strength wherever we go that it submits the women around us in our ecosystem, and then they either attract or repel. It really polarizes the women. And that's, a lot of guys are not polarizing women. So as you're out, you're it's not that you want to repel women. It's that you definitely want to repel the women that are not good for you. And, you know, you got to be able to handle rejection to do that. And you got to be able, how do you repel women without violating the environment? You don't want to repel women. You want to attract women, but you want to magnetize them. And magnetics involves repulsion also. So a lot of guys don't have an attraction or a repulsion. They're kind of in this middle place where they're kind of friendly, but not very attractive. And so that's like the friend zone kind of thing. And, or could be. At the highest level, it's a friend zone. At the lowest level, nobody likes you and nobody regards you. They don't hate you, but they don't even like you. They don't even consider you. But at the highest level, you're the friend. You're the guy friend. That girls, you know, they will be around. They'll tolerate whatever. You have some value to you, I guess, but nothing attractive really. So, but as soon as you become attractive, then girls will swoop in and want to take you for their own. Then you either go with whoever, you settle for the first come, first serve, or the easiest or whatever, or you play the field and go for the best one, which is going to repel a lot of the others. So right away, now you're doing this magnetism thing. You know, and that means imposing standards. So you have standards like, I only want the most beautiful, or I want the woman that's most for me. And then women will resent that about you. So to get women, you're going to repel a bunch of women. And that's at AZD's level. It's just immense magnetism everywhere he goes. Girls are afraid of him. Girls walk up to him. Some girls are afraid and walk up. Some girls are afraid and don't walk up. You know, so the benefit to me to literally giving AZD my money so that he can live his life and then give me his wisdom of relationships, I actually learn more than if I were just trying to date all the time. I've worked that out for myself, that I will level up my awareness with women more by having him teach me what he knows than I would if I just keep going on dates. I may get more pussy, but I'm not going to level up actually. I'll get distracted. I won't push the edge of the envelope. And, you know, and I'll end up spending a lot more of my time not doing money producing or business producing activities to go on dates with women, and it'll destroy my life. At some point, I'll need to make the money. I'll need to focus on my business. I'll go back to that point where I only have a little bit of time to hang out with women. And I won't have the skills to fulfill a woman in just an hour a week or 2 hours a week or whatever time I have. It takes more skill. You know, the lower value or the lower skilled the man, the more time he has to invest in the woman to keep her. You know, at the highest end, let's say a king has 300 women. How much time is he really spending with each one? If it's voluntary, consider, I mean, a lot of them are like slaves or concubines or whatever, but to the man that has multiple women, you only have so much time. You have the same amount of hours that I have. You got to make your money also. So how are you doing that? And then how much time are you giving to the woman? Because you're probably not making too much money when you're hanging out with her. So it requires more skill in business and with women so that you can get more done with less time and less effort. Knowing what to talk about, knowing how to listen, knowing how to guide the conversation, knowing how to fulfill a woman with your fantasies, with the dreams and goals and visions for the future, how to integrate her into your life, how to be so attractive that it literally, she can't get it anywhere else. Your character and how you reply or respond to situations is unavailable. And it's at AZD's level, it's like a movie. It's like you watch a movie scene and it's like an epic movie scene that's like, oh, it's so inspiring. Oh, what a cool response. What a bad boy, this or that. Like that's his life, moment to moment to moment to moment. And he's worked it out where it's like being through so many situations and whatever, he's developed high value responses to situations. And that leads to ultimately a high value mindset about how to live so that it's not, I know all the responses for every situation. I just know what kind of character I am, and I will naturally respond in this high value way because this is the character that I am. So now he's at the level where he's teaching character instead of just teaching sound bites of how to reply in this situation or that situation. He does teach those things, how to reply in situation, but it's going to be sprinkled into a bigger lecture and a bigger education on how to develop your character, which will yield more fruits because you learn the sound bites, you get the girl, and she destroys your life. You either get her pregnant, you settle, or you can't keep her because you're always going to need more sound bites. You're never going to run out of the need for sound bites. The sound bites are useful in the long term only when you have the right character to use them. And so how do we develop character? That's the phase 1 process, brings light to the character. The Panjo, the recent camp, the Panjo boot camp, brings a lot of light to the character. And I would say the process does also, less so. I'm not perceiving it like that yet. So the Panjo camp is really probably the best camp that's happened in my memory as far as character, to define character. The phase 1 process will make you strong and malleable as a character. The Panjo camp will refine your character to be a seductive archetype. And that's all I have to say about all that. I'm feeling long-winded now. I've given what I could right now. I appreciate your time, guys online. Yeah, right. Yeah, interesting. Toby, you got to get on the game class, man. Yeah. Okay. Okay, everybody. Thank you for attending. I'll see you on the next stream. J. Grew Dev, praise the Lord. Be the best. Fuck the rest.